Hi, folks. What I'd like to talk about today is proof of God. Since uh, since the government is hell bent on removing God from our lives, and some people say, "Well, I don't know if God exists," and others say, "Yeah, God exists," but they don't know why. They don't. They just it's a just in case thing for some people because they don't want to go to hell. But let's talk about. Uh, they say, well, God doesn't exist, and they believe in evolution. They don't believe in the Bible. They believe in this or that or the other thing, but they don't believe specifically in God. So today I'm going to attempt to show you the proof of God. Okay, the proof of God basically is the human body. I mean, it's a crazy thing. A human body. You have a set. You have your eyebrows up here, and you have your eyelashes down here, and they filter things to stop things from going into your eyes. It's amazing. You have your hairs in your nose that catch debris and stuff like that, so that it doesn't end up to go inside your body. You have a skin, which is they say is actually an organ. You have your skin that you can go inside. You can paint. You can put your hands in thinners and paint thinners. You can take showers and stuff like that, and nothing gets inside the skin from the outside. And yet, when you sweat, your pores open up, and it lets the sweat out and that basically cools your body down. Your body has to maintain a certain temperature, 98.6, 98.7, like that, but it's very intolerant as to high degrees, low or high. It has to be in that range. So when you get too hot, your pores open up, the moisture comes out, the wind blows on it, and it cools your body down. You have a set of veins and arteries in your arms, and the definition of hydraulics is fluids in motion. So when you're picking up things, your arms like this thing, you got your veins here, and it picks up. Now the human body has hydraulics that understand that if you're picking up something every day and it's heavy, day after day after day, your body knows that you need to be able to have more hydraulics to do that. So the hydraulics are expandable. You see people with these massive veins in there. Like if you've got a construction workers or brick workers or something like that who are lifting heavy things day after day after day, they get these huge hydraulics in their arms, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. These big veins that stick out to allow more blood to get pumped into those arteries and veins, so you can lift heavier things. If you have a machine like a backhoe or something like that, you have a specific hydraulic line. Maybe it's an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches, whatever, but it's not expandable. It can only pick up a certain amount of weight. So, and now, excuse me. you know, Another proof of God is in your mind itself. You know, think back as I'm talking to you. What is your earliest childhood memory? My earliest childhood memory, and now that I just triggered it by asking myself what it was when I crawled out of the crib and I pushed the crib over to the dresser so my sister could open up the dresser drawer, pull out my mom's pearl necklaces, and break them open so we could play with the beads. I couldn't have been more than 3 years old, maybe four. Well, I had my sister. Yeah, probably about 4 years old. So where was that memory in here? Where is it? Where is it? This, it's not physical. We don't physically have a disc or anything that we put in your head to save the information, and then you take it out and put it back in when you need it again. But you're able to recall your earliest thoughts like that from where? Just because you wanted to recall it, so you recalled it, and bam, there it is. Where was that information? Is it actually in your head, that information, or are you pulling it out of the universe? Is it all around you all the time? And when you look for it, boom, there it is. So it's like this huge file cabinet where you can remember every single thing that goes on in your life if you actually if it was an important event in your life. Most of the time, you're going to remember them, and there's a tremendous amount of things that you remember. You remember the color red and green. You remember trees are made of wood. You remember how to drive a car. You can drive your car down the road, talk to somebody, take a drink, and at the same time, unconsciously, you see a stop sign, you put your foot on the brake and you stop. And without even thinking about it, you look both ways and you see if there's any cars coming. Nobody's coming, so you go. You take your foot off the brake and you put it onto the gas pedal and you go. When you get to where you're going, you put it in park. Then you shut the key off and you turn the car off. All of that information is amazing. Where the heck is that information? If you take a piece of paper and you crumple it up, like this here, and you want to throw it into the garbage pail across the room, you're doing an amazing action right there that you take for granted. If a mathematician was to figure out what do I need to do to get this paper in that waste paper basket, he's going to try to do the math on that, and there's a lot of math. He's got to figure out the weight of the paper, the size of the paper, the shape of the paper, because it's all going to be affected by the wind. He's going to be to see the paper into that garbage pail. It's just so amazing that there could be no other explanation except for God. We have planets that rotate around each other, and the moon rotates around the Earth and has an effect on the Earth. If any one of those things is disrupted and thrown out of its orbit, everything would suffer from it. Everything would suffer from it. All the other planets would be affected by that. They're not individual items. They're all part of a huge machine. The universe, it's a huge machine. You have a fingernail here on all your fingers, and basically what they do is when you're picking things up, your fingertip's not going to bend backwards. It gives you the support. It gives you the support to pick things up. Why do you have a thumb? You ever try to make tools with these 4 fingers? You can't do it. You need to have a thumb. This is a well thought out plan. How is it that the human body can make another human body? When a man and a woman have sex, and then the little semen there are swimming, they know where they're going. They're not going trying to get down to the leg or up to the arm. They know they need to get to the uterus. And then maybe a million of them, little teeny whiny semen, are trying to burrow their way into the uterus. Only one gets in. Sometimes 2, and you have twins, or 3, you have triplets. But most of the time, only one gets in. And as soon as that one gets in, it's sealed off, and the other billion, or whatever they are, can't get in. They all go out. They leave the body. And then that one goes right into it and joins with the egg. And then the baby starts to form. And while that baby's forming in the belly, the mother's doing all kinds of things. She's not thinking about what she needs to do to make that body. She's driving a car. She's making dinner. She's painting a house. She's raking the lawn. She's doing exercises. She's doing everything that you people do in the normal course of a day. And all of that time, in 24 hours a day, that baby is growing inside her belly. How is that? How is it that a woman has these breasts that provide nourishment for the baby when the baby comes out of the womb? How is that? She didn't have the milk before. And if the milk is not being used, eventually the breasts dry up. But then the nourishment from the mother's body gets passed on through the milk. The antibodies for diseases, any vitamins and minerals that the mother's taking gets passed on through the breast milk and goes into the baby. Now the baby has an immediate natural reaction to sucking, like that, and they do it in the womb. They're even sucking their thumb in the womb. So all of this time when the baby's being is making the eyes and the nose and the mouth and later on the teeth. How can any of this stuff be explained by science? No, no. Science has certain explanations of how things work, but they can't recreate it. They can't make a human body without the help of a human body. I mean, they got these things with the petri dishes and stuff like that. But even if they take the the egg and the sperm and they once it gets fertilized and they put it in the petri dish or whatever, and they're going to make a baby grow in there. I don't know if science got to that level, but they know they've been working on it for years. I mean, even that it shows the intelligence inside of the cells at a cellular level. Now you have a heart that circulates the blood and it starts pumping before you're born and it stops when you die or your whole life. And the harder you work it during your life, the better it is. You're more healthy. You exercise, you make that thing really pump, 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 and you're more healthy because you're working it harder. How is that? How is that? So you have to think, how do you have a little gnat? You know what a gnat, those little bugs, that's just so tiny. Yet they have two wings. They fly around and they know where to get their food. The gnat has a brain inside that little tiny beanie head that it knows how to get the food. It goes, gets the food, and bites whatever it needs to do to get the food. So that heart, so it has obviously has some kind of mental intelligence. Plus, it also has to breathe, so it has some kind of lungs, some kind of circulatory system, and it also has a digestive system where it has to defecate and urinate. How is this possible without God? How do you have you have a tree? When the tree grows up and it produces the leaves fall down and feed the tree next year. How's that? Can any of this stuff be explained without God? So people need to understand, and they need to have God in their life because God is an intelligent force for good in this world. Take God into your life for whatever reason. I don't, whatever you're just because you want to talk to somebody, or if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, something like that. God is very real. So you talk to God. You ask Him for things. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes God wants you to work it out for yourself, just like your parents do. They say, no. You're not going to learn a lesson by me helping you out with it. You do it yourself and you figure it out. That way, that's how you learn how to do it. So sometimes the answer is no. And people must die, and that's part of the plan also. People must die because if everybody that ever lived was still alive today, the planet would be just too crowded. You couldn't. Where are you going to put all the people? If everybody that ever lived was still alive today, people need to die, but they don't die. They pass away from this earth, from this life that they've known, but they go on because the energy that they have is a soul, and the soul cannot be destroyed except God can destroy the soul. I'm not a firm believer in hell because I don't believe my God, after everything that I've learned about my God, that He would take a soul and torture it for eternity and throw it into a fire or whatever they say, and you're going to go hell and you're going to torture it. My God wouldn't do that. In my opinion, my God would take that soul and go poof like a piece of flash paper, and it's gone. It's no longer in existence. But a good soul, God recognizes a good soul. And that energy in that soul goes out into the world, into the universe, into the whole scheme of things, and becomes part of it. So you can be here and there and everywhere all at the same time. So if you so people tell you they, oh, I don't know if God exists. It's such a ridiculous question. It's almost as ridiculous as, are there aliens? Really? Yeah, that's such a stupid question. It shouldn't even deserve an answer. I mean, if you go outside and at night and you look up and you see the stars up there, and you realize that the two stars that you see that are closest together are in reality many, many light years apart. A light year is the distance that light travels in a year, and it travels at 365,000 miles a second. 365,000 miles a second. I think that's right. 365,000 miles per second. So, how many seconds would it take you to travel 1 year at the speed of light? That's how far those two stars may be apart, many light years apart. So space never, 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 never ends. It goes, and this is the mind. This is very mind-boggling. Space never ends. Space never ends. It goes on and on and on and on and on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Because if there was an end, what would it be? And what would be on the other side of it? Space can never end. So, in all of that, to imagine that you are the only ones on this planet in all of that, there's no other civilizations, is totally ridiculous to believe that. It's more or less like Star Trek is. With Star Trek, they go to different universes and they travel at the speed of light for a certain amount of time. They get to the next planet, and there's other civilizations up there. Some of them more advanced than us, and some of them more behind than us. That's what it's in my opinion. That's more like the scenario that it would actually be like. So to think that we've never been visited by aliens, why? You think no, a more advanced civilization than us could not travel here? And if they could get here, they could destroy us. And if they have been here and haven't destroyed us, then they're not hostile. They probably just want to find out. In Star Trek, they have what they call a prime directive. They're not allowed to interfere with civilizations and expose themselves and let people know that they're there. If they're more privileged, because people are not ready to accept that. So, to the fact that um, space never ends, it's kind of ridiculous question to ask. Do aliens, or we call them aliens, other beings from other planets, do they exist? Of course they do. Of course they do. Now, someday, this planet's not going to be here anymore, and the sun's going to burn out, or a big meteor or something like that. So, but I'm not worried about it, because you know what? It only affects one person. When I die, it only affects me. If everybody dies at the same time, it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm going to die. Everybody's going to die. They're going to leave here. They're going to pass away. But I think I have a pretty good soul, so I think I'll be okay. If you don't, if you've been doing some really bad things in your life, you might want to talk to God, who is very receptive, by the way, of apologies and understanding. If you are truly, truly sorry for what you've done, He knows that. God is a very, very, very good individual, entity, or whatever it is, whatever God is. He's very, very good, and he's accepting the fact that people are not perfect, but he also accepts the fact that if they're evil, they gotta go. They gotta go. Any pain you feel here from disease or bad things that have happened to you or anything like that, that doesn't go with you when you leave. And we're only here for maybe 80, maybe 90 years. It's a drop in the bucket. I'm 65 years old. I don't know where that time went. So I'm not a very big fan of organized religion either. I mean, I don't go to church every Sunday. I sometimes I go to church on Christmas or Easter, but the reason why I go there is because the spirit is so powerful at that time. Everybody's concentrating on God and the spirit in the church, and I go in there at Christmas time and Easter like that, and I absorb the spirit. But for the rest of the time, I seem like I have evolved. I don't need to be reaffirmed by the Bible or by what other people's teaching or anything like that. I have a very close personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I gave my life to Jesus Christ when I was 14 years old. So I have a very close personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and my life is perfect. I'm the richest man in the world. I am the richest man in the world. The reason is because I don't need anything. Some things I might want. I don't need them though. My life is perfect. I have a great wife, my best friend. We have a nice home, nice dog, nice car. We have an RV, a dog. We have a nice life. And that's, in my opinion, that's because I've lived a good life and I've given my life to Jesus Christ. So he's with me all the time. I don't preach to anybody. All I'm trying to do is to let you know that God does exist. And the government is trying to get in the way between you and your God. They've been trying to do it. And now with the things that are going on, they're trying to water down the Constitution, so you take away your liberties. There's two things they need to do to transform this country from a republic to a communist form of government. One thing they got to do is they got to get rid of God. People need to know that their rights come from the government and not from God. We're never going to believe that. Our rights don't come from the government. Our rights do come from God. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are God's guidelines that gave the founders to this country. Think about that. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Bible and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights have God's hand all over it. Divine intervention is what inspired the documents of this country. So don't let them take away your God. And the Constitution, it's held up for 200 years. And went through traumatic experiences back in the 60s and 70s. We got through it, and now we're going through it again. But don't let that, there's a couple of things. Don't let them convince you of racism. You know what? When we're Americans, we have evolved into a family. There's a couple of malcontents out there that have sold out their people, pushing all this race stuff. The racism does not exist to the extent that they say in this country. There is a couple of assholes out there that we know. But for the most part, on the street level, it's how you doing, sir? Let me hold the door for you. Yes, ma'am. How are you? Can I help you with that? It's not black and white. It's American. And the Democrat Party, in my opinion, right now, I don't want to turn this political, but just my opinion right now, the Democrat Party is trying to divide and conquer. And they think they're going to get a voting block from all these people coming in over the border. So they let in, I think it's like 500,000 people so far. They let into the border. And they're giving them free food and free health care and hotel rooms and transportation. And they think that these people are going to come in here and vote Democrat in the elections. They made a big mistake with that. These people that are coming up from South America and other countries have left oppressive governments. They left socialist and communist governments to come here for a better life. Do you think they're going to come all this way and get into this country and then destroy the country and vote for the form of government that they left? They left because it's a bad forms of government they have. They want a better life. They're not going to do it. The Democratic Party with that they kind of made a big mistake, and I hope that people start to understand that pretty soon. So anyway, like I said, I don't want to make this political. This is about proof of God. There's so many things out there that in your life that you take for granted, but don't take God for granted. Don't take God for granted. Talk to your God. Doesn't have to be a church. Doesn't have to be on your knees at night at bedtime or anything like that. It could be when you're just walking down the street or driving the car or working on something. Whenever it is, whatever you're doing at the time. And if something didn't work out right away and you keep on trying and finally you get it and it was really difficult, it doesn't hurt to say, thanks. Thanks, God. I know you helped me with that. All right. Well, I guess that's enough for today. I guess I just wanted to ramble on a little bit and let people know that um, how I feel about God and why I know that God exists just because of the wonderful life that I have. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And thank you, God and Jesus Christ, for everything that we have. Amen.